We look at a magnificent skyscraper, we really only ever see the glass and the steel shining in the sun, you know?
Right.
Yeah, just the penthouse suites and the reflecting pools. Exactly. We see the penthouse, but we never think about the thousands of tons of concrete buried deep underground holding the whole thing up. It's completely invisible to the passerby. I mean, you don't get tourists taking photos of a poured concrete slab in the dirt.
Completely invisible. But if it's flawed, if the engineer just cut corners on that concrete, or if they didn't dig deep enough to hit bedrock, that whole glittering tower eventually just comes crashing down.
Oh, absolutely. And let's be honest, it's not glamorous to pour concrete. We're a society utterly obsessed with the penthouse view, but we completely ignore the tedious, gritty process of digging the hole in the dirt.
That's actually a perfect visual for what happens when we look at peak human performers.
We see the financial freedom, the harmonious families, the robust health. We see the penthouse of their lives, but we completely miss the invisible, often super unglamorous groundwork that actually keeps them standing, which is exactly why we're here today. We are excavating that groundwork. We're doing a deep dive into a booky summary of Brian Tracy's powerhouse book, No Excuses, and treating success not as a motivational poster, but as a rigid engineering problem. Yeah, it's an architecture that really anyone can build, provided they understand the physics of it. That's the beauty of Tracy's work, right? So if you're listening to this right now, whether you're prepping for a major career pivot, trying to scale a business, or you just want to finally stop procrastinating on that one project that's been sitting on your desk for 6 months, this deep dive is tailored to help you break through your own barriers. We're exploring the architecture of lasting happiness and success, specifically through the lens of self-discipline, and it's a structural approach, which is so refreshing. Okay, let's unpack this because I'm genuinely thrilled about this material. It doesn't just offer you empty platitudes. It doesn't just tell you to believe in yourself and then leave you hanging.
Yeah, those are the worst.
They really are. But this actually breaks down the physical and psychological mechanics of achievement. But before we get into the blueprints, who actually is Brian Tracy? I mean, why should we trust his architecture? That's a crucial starting point to really grasp the weight of these insights. You need to understand his background, because Brian Tracy isn't just a theorist sitting in an ivory tower hypothesizing about what, might work, right? He's not just a life coach who read a few books. Far from it. His background is incredibly rigorous and heavily tested in the real world. Before he founded his own massive personal development firm, he was actually the chief operating officer of a $265 million development company.
Wow. Okay, so he understands scale. He understands how to build massive systems.
Exactly. He's applied corporate scaling principles directly to human potential. I mean, he's consulted for over 1,000 companies. He's spoken to over 5 million people across 80 different countries. That's insane volume.
It is. He's fluent in 4 languages, and he's the mind behind the widely acclaimed psychology of achievement. So he spent decades looking at high performers across different cultures, different economies, and different industries, just analyzing the data.
Right, and through all of that data, synthesizing millions of data points on human behavior, he identified 2 massive universal obstacles to human potential. And what are those 2 roadblocks? The first is the deeply wired human tendency to always choose the easiest path. And the second is our ingrained craving for immediate gratification.
Oh man, those 2 things absolutely ruin us, right?
Yeah, they do. The easy path and the quick reward. They're practically the default settings of the modern human brain. They're evolutionary leftovers, really. I mean, for most of human history, conserving energy by taking the easy path and eating the sugar immediately because it might, rot tomorrow, those were survival mechanisms, right?
It kept us alive on the savannah.
Exactly. But in the modern world, those exact same instincts are the literal blueprints for failure. So our mission today is to tackle those obstacles head on. We're going to cover personal aspirations, financial growth, and overall happiness. And I promise you, by the end of this deep dive, you're going to view the concept of discipline completely differently. It's a total paradigm shift. It is. You'll no longer see it as a punishment or a restriction. You're going to see it as the ultimate life hack. It really is the ultimate tool for freedom. Paradoxically enough, the more disciplined you are, the more freedom you actually have. But before we can talk about how to achieve your goals, we have to establish what success actually means in the first place, right? The definition. Yeah, we have to move away from the generic billboard definition of success, the sports cars, the massive mansions, and get incredibly personal. because the source material insists that success is highly subjective.
Yes, Tracy emphasizes that you cannot hit a target you haven't defined. So he breaks down the description of an ideal life into 4 very specific pillars: work, family, health, and finances. Just those 4. Just those 4. But if you don't have a personalized, vividly clear vision for each of those 4 pillars, you're essentially driving a race car without a destination.
Let's look at those pillars for a second, because the balance is what's interesting to me.
Uh-huh.
You see, people who define success purely by the financial pillar, they build the $200 million company, but their family pillar is completely decimated, and their health pillar is non-existent because they've had like 3 stress-induced heart attacks.
Yeah, a total collapse of the other areas. That's not the architecture of success Tracy's talking about, is it?
Not at all. A skyscraper with 1 massive reinforced steel beam but 3 weak wooden posts is going to collapse. Tracy's definition of success requires structural integrity across all 4 areas.
So it has to be holistic, right? Your work has to be meaningful to you. Your family relationships need to be harmonious. Your physical health must be robust enough to allow you to enjoy your life, and your finances must provide independence and peace of mind.
And what I love is that the text immediately dispels the myth of innate advantage. When people look at others who have those 4 pillars locked in, the immediate defense mechanism is to say, well, they must have been born into a wealthy family, or they just have a genius-level IQ.
Exactly. But the source points out that many successful individuals start with absolutely nothing. Their success doesn't stem from innate intelligence or massive family resources. It stems from hard work and determination.
What's fascinating here is how Tracy frames this through what he calls the great law of cause and effect. Break that down for us. So this is a foundational universal law. It states that success is predictable because it is the result of repeated or productive behaviors.
It's essentially Newtonian physics applied to human achievement. Cause and effect, right? For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you do the things that successful people do over and over again, you will eventually get the results that successful people get.
Which completely removes the concept of luck from the equation, completely. And that is a very tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. It's brutal. It's incredibly uncomfortable. Because if you accept that luck is just a myth, and if success and failure are merely the outcomes of repeated behaviors over time, then it forces a very harsh realization.
It really does. It means your current circumstances, whether you're thrilled with them or miserable in them, are a direct reflection of your past investments of effort and time.
Exactly. It strips away every single excuse. If your bank account is empty, it's the effect of the causes you set into motion over the last 5 years. Ouch. Yeah. If your health is poor, it's the effect of your daily habits. But while it's a harsh realization, it's also profoundly liberating. Because if you created your current reality through your past behaviors, it means you have the absolute power to create a different future by changing your behaviors today, right? To succeed, you have to figure out the exact cost of what you want, and then you have to pay it up front. I was thinking about this, and it reminds me of the difference between a subscription streaming service and a credit card.
Oh, that's interesting. How do you mean?
Well, most people operate their lives on a credit card model. With a credit card, you get the dopamine hit of the reward immediately. You buy the designer shoes, you take the luxury vacation you can't really afford. You get the instant gratification, and you pay for it later. And you usually pay for it with heavy interest. Exactly. You pay in the form of debt, stress, and limited future choices. That's the craving for immediate gratification Tracy warned us about. Buy now, pay later. That's a great analogy. The modern world is built entirely around facilitating that credit card mindset. It is. Everything is pushing you to swipe now. But the price of success that Tracy talks about operates completely differently. It's like a subscription streaming service, meaning you have to pay first, right? There is no buy now, pay later option. There's not even a free trial for your ideal life. You have to pay the subscription fee up front. You pay with hard work, with late nights, with early mornings, with passing on the instant gratification. You pay the fee first, and only then, after the payment clears, are you allowed to log in and watch the movie of your ideal life.
And that subscription fee requires intense self-discipline to pay month after month, especially when you don't see the movie immediately. It requires sustained, unglamorous work over a long period, and the text points to a very specific demographic to illustrate the reality of this: the top 20%. Let's get into the weeds on that, because the disparity is shocking. It is. The source notes that in almost any given field, a very small percentage of individuals, the top 20%, earn the vast majority of the income, get the majority of the promotions, and experience the most success. This is a classic manifestation of the Pareto principle, but the crucial point the source makes is that this top 20% isn't a fixed caste system. No, not at all. They weren't born into it, and they certainly aren't 20 times smarter than the bottom 80%, right? The difference in raw intelligence or innate talent is often completely negligible. The massive disparity in results comes from a relentless dedication to skill improvement.
So it's about the learning. Yes, continuous disciplined learning is what creates this massive gap. The people in the top 20% are constantly paying that upfront subscription fee by developing their character and their skills, while the bottom 80% are looking for the easiest path and the quick reward.
So if you're listening right now, I want you to do a quick mental exercise. If success is subjective, what does your specific penthouse look like? Yeah, picture it. Visualize your perfect situation